I'm Rene Ritchie, and I'm a tech analyst.
I'm Georgia Down, I'm a psychotherapist.
And welcome to Apple Talk, where psychology explodes into technology and tells us where all the gears and cogs meet all the neurons and
axons.
Dopamine hits. What do we talk about? I keep forgetting.
Microsoft and Google and Facebook and Meta and all of the other technology things.
So I thought it would be fun, because this is our last show of the year, that we talk about the big new tech trends coming next year.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
Because we know nothing about them, so this is going to be extra fun. You're going to be able to tell us we got absolutely everything wrong.
But we won't.
Oh, now you'll never know.
We're going to have it all right.
So the first one, I think the one that's nearest and dearest to your heart, is augmented reality and virtual reality.
I'm all in. Let's do this.
So apparently, Facebook and the Oculus Quest 2 had a bang up holiday season. Tons of them being bought. Top app in the App Store right now. What do you think?
Okay, so besides the fact that it's Facebook, which makes me feel sad, I'm really excited about it. I think that augmented reality is going to change a lot of people's lives for the better. I think that there's definitely that cautionary tale that where's your information going, a little bit about privacy, and a little bit of the exhaustion factor of having a screen that is directly attached to your face.
I think you called it a face hugger before.
Yeah.
Face hugger?
Yeah.
Now, some people are saying that it's not completely... it's not a great analysis because none of the other consoles were available. It's like 2020, end of 2021, we still can't get a PlayStation 5 or a GPU. They're just not in stock.
I know, which then makes cars difficult to buy. It's really been a rough year.
And these are heavily subsidized by Facebook, sold pretty much at cost, if not below cost, similar to what Amazon did with the early Echoes, and that tends to distort a market because it lets people get in and not necessarily organically, like people aren't buying it at a premium.
Yeah.
But I think it is safe to say that this is maybe an inflection point. Apple's rumored to be getting into the market next year. They're gonna have the Apple VR headset, way more expensive. Google's still working on things. Microsoft is still working on things. Tim Epic wants his own metaverse. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. I don't think that it's going to be as quick of a sell as people believe that it will. I think that for the younger generation, people that are very tech savvy are going to be jumping in on this trend. I think that for other people, having technology that is right in front of your face, there's going to be a certain barrier to entry, a digital divide, not just because of cost, but because of that uncomfortable kind of feeling of having information that is directly in front of you. And that can cause a little bit of a brain overload.
Yeah, and I'm going to say only one of many, many controversial things that might get me canceled on this show today.
Oh, no.
But I think I think the usual suspects are hype-mongering metaverse as a thing. Like, to me, it resonates as cyberspace, the thing that, cheesy Hollywood producers try to make 2 years after they're cool. Like, it's just going to be the internet, but with VR devices. Like, mobile wasn't a whole new thing. It was the internet gone mobile, literally. And a lot of platforms were born from that, like Android and iOS, and platforms will be born from VR. But I don't think it's going to be like this Ready Player One type dystopian, or I guess utopian society that some people are hyping it as.
Not yet. Plus, the name metaverse is already slightly cringy. I think that,
like cyberspace, right?
Cyberspace is not as cringy as metaverse. I think that cyberspace
But does anyone say it? Like, do you ever say, husband, I'm going into cyberspace for an hour?
No, I don't think that anyone
say, I'm going on the net, I'm going online. Like, it's way more boring.
I'm going into VR.
Yes.
I'm going to play VR. I'm going to go into AR. I'm going to be using that. I think that I think that calling it its own area is like kind of like claiming a country. I don't think that you can really do that. It's like putting your little tiny mark on the moon and now saying I own the moon.
But it's like the Lex Luthor version, like Otisburg. That's what this is like. It's like the cringiest possible way of doing it. It's just like, relax about it. So I want to say, I want to give you the Tony Stark relax about it. It's just going to be the internet plus connected VR experiences.
I saw a meme in that.
Yes. Don't meme. Well, you can meme it. Just meme us on Twitter. That's the best place to meme us. We'll see it the most easily on Twitter.
Right.
So that's one of the big trends. Now, another one people are really excited about is even lower cost electronic vehicles. Like right now, the price of electronic vehicles has come down from the hundreds of thousands of dollars to, people say they're like the low tens, but they're not. Because like if you equip it with things like wheels, which is necessary, they tend to go right back up again.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are still mixed on EVs because they're only beginning to have a lot more competition in the EV space. Also, batteries are not carbon neutral. The way you produce batteries, the way you dispose of batteries are not carbon neutral. The utility of the self-driving part of that, like whether people are being honest about
that,
it.
Rene, self-driving. are we going to see reliable self-driving cars next year?
So
yes or no?
But it's only, this is the part that makes it confusing for people, is that in Arizona, you can have a lot of self-driving.
Yes.
In Quebec, snow looks like a wall. Like, I mean, you don't see the lane mark. Like, a lot of these systems are camera-based
It's just
still.
white.
And they rely on things like lane markings and signs, and you cannot see those in a Montreal winter.
No.
So the degree that you can have full self-driving in Arizona is high. The degree that you can have full self-driving in winter in Quebec is low. And it's a spectrum of things. It's not a binary state.
So you're pretty much saying, Rene, that other people can have self-driving cars, but I cannot.
Yeah, the few people. And I mean, like...
Oh, I really need it. Some people need to have cars that drive for themselves.
Well, again, there'll be degrees. Like,
skills...
maybe they can install things like the next time they paint because here in Montreal, they paint them in November. The snow wipes them out again. They're gone by March, and you have to wait the entire year for them to repaint them. Right. So they're barely, if ever, there. But maybe they'll eventually put sensors in the roads that will help cars, like when there's no visual, like because a lot of them again are using cameras when there's no visual
who would then
cues.
Pay for these sensors?
I mean, we're in Canada. We pay for everything.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, what Americans are going to pay, we don't know.
We would.
No, but I think people are usually good about paying for their roads and things and infrastructure. And Tesla's shown some signs of willingness to share their charging infrastructure with other companies. They're testing that in the Netherlands, I believe, because that's another big thing. Like, how do you charge them? It takes a long time. You don't just fill up the gas. You got to plug them in and wait. There's various speeds. So I think there's still, to me, we're still in the Palm Trio state. Oh. We haven't gone to the iPhone state of EVs yet because it's still like you still have to want to have it.
I like the phone metaphor. Now.
Yeah, and
they're
not
fitting for you.
But we're not in like right now. Smartphones are mature. We're not in a fully mature EV market yet. I don't think we'll get there next year, but I think we'll get there a step faster. But I think they're still going to have many problems they need to solve for many more people.
Yeah, plus we as a species, we're slow to adapt. There's certain things that we're very quick to adapt to, but for most big changes, the way that we travel, it's really important to us. The things that we depend on because they're so essential to our survival, we're much slower, we're much more cautious. And so I think also people have to be much more comfortable with changing the way that their cars work and what fuels them.
I remember my former boss, Crackberry Kevin, had a Tesla Model S, and he was in Winnipeg, and the temperature got down to -50. It gets to -50 once or twice a year. Actually, it's getting down to -51 right now. We're having an unprecedented cold snap in parts of Northwest Territories, and the car just wouldn't start. And because the infrastructure isn't as developed yet in Canada as it is in the United States, they were going to have to tow it to Alberta, like basically towing it, I don't know, from like Minnesota to Colorado or something. I don't know what the U.S. equivalent is, but like he just gave up and bought a truck. At that point.
Yes, well.
So we're going to be at the outlier.
Not everyone could do that. Yeah,
California
exactly.
and Arizona will be well taken care of. The rest of us will be, looking for scraps in a cave. I told you it's going to get canceled this episode. Oh, it's going to get worse because I'm going to bring up the next big thing, which is super controversial actually, and that's Web3.
Oh.
So
okay.
Web3.
I thought you were really talking controversial.
No, there are people who are like so angry about this stuff, Georgia.
There are some people.
No, well, on my Twitter timeline.
You're fair.
Because
fair.
It's
Your
complicated
people,
because
some of them.
So we had Web 1, and Web 1 was basically HTML, angle bracket, marquee, angle bracket, blink. Okay, it was like the worst websites under construction, GIFs. That was Web 1. It was like just barely on the internet. Right. Then we had Web 2, and the big changes with Web 2 were things like AJAX. Or asynchronous JavaScript.
I'm just nodding and pretending like I know everything that you're saying.
Cascading style sheets. OAuth, which were tokens for authentication, so you can log into Twitter and stay logged in. Things like that.
I like that.
It's what let them make, but like nobody really cared about these technologies. They were nerdy little things. Like I cared about them. I wrote about them.
Yeah.
99% of humanity didn't care. You know what they cared about?
If their sites worked.
No. Google Maps, Instagram.
Yes,
Uber Eats, the apps.
If we were able to do things and it worked effectively.
Yes.
When it works, I don't know it exists.
Well, but when you get things that you never had before, like you never had anything like Google Maps before, and suddenly your computer can do all this mapping stuff. Suddenly, like you can share photos with all these people. Suddenly you have like the Twitter timeline or Facebook or whatever it is. Like these websites were not possible before.
Yeah, we just want the goodies. So what does Web3
Well, so that's the thing. It's like, I don't think people care about, like, Web3 is being so fetishized, both by like technology people, but also grifters, because like the grifters have realized that they can monetize and exploit the core technologies of Web3. So for example, Web3 is NFTs, non-fungible tokens. So you can assign a digital proof of ownership to like anything. A lot of people will do like digital art, and they'll say, finally the artists are getting paid. And some artists can say, I would have sold you a canvas. Right. Like, just give me the same amount of money, I'll give you a canvas.
But then they can sell them many times.
Yeah, like, but that's the whole thing. And then someone can right-click and say, like, the whole thing, like, people argue about it so incessantly.
And that's what web...
Well, also things like the blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
So the whole idea of Web3 is that big companies own Web 2. You pretty much have to be Google or Facebook or Apple or someone to have a really big Web 2 property, and then it's centralized and the big tech companies control it. And the dream of Web 3 is to decentralize, to put the power back in our hands.
That sounds great.
So it does. And like there's, I always call them DOAs, like dead on arrivals, but they're not. They're DAOs, which are decentralized, I'm going to get the initials wrong, organizations. But basically anyone with a token can have a vote in what happens with the organization. So there's not one CEO in control of it. Anybody who buys in has a share of the ownership, the stake in it. So there's a lot of really interesting, but these to me, again, these are technologies, and we're fetishized, like nobody really fetishized Ajax or OAuth the way that we're fetishizing these things. And I still don't think the mainstream is going to care until you show them the next generation of apps that weren't possible with previous web technologies.
So what do I get though? What will be noticeable to me, or am I going to have, see, that's not...
Little pixelated gorillas.
I can have pixelated gorillas now.
Groups of people who bid on the US Constitution.
I think that that's still, you can still bid on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of, yeah,
I don't know.
It's the ownership really of like, but.
Is that the only thing that we will be getting that makes a difference? Because then I'm still not in the game.
People are so angry. It's like you have one person, and there's a lot of, again, there's a lot of grift involved, and there are good people. Like there are people who are really interested in technologies, and there are people who are going to bring us amazing services and applications. But you also have people who've run out of ways to make money off venture capital who are now trying to make money off this. And they're arguing, like someone will say, oh, it's not really decentralized because any hacker in Uzbekistan can just take your pixelated gorilla. And they're like, but that was true if I had a pixelated gorilla on Facebook.
Yes.
The amount of vitriol I find really depressing.
Fair. Like, I think that that's probably a small amount of the population that are fair. Fair enough.
So how do you negotiate, or how do you navigate something where the arguments, like I would just say the arguments are ridiculous because technology gets solved over time, but people are arguing, do you just avoid it? Do you stay out of it? Do you join into it?
I think that for most cases, shouting into the void is really just you shouting into the void. I think that for some people, we need to educate, we need to be able to talk about it, we need to know why it matters and why it doesn't matter. And I think that we have become, we need our food chewed for us and given to us, our attention spans to be able to research. One is there's just way too many things to be able to research. If you care about everything, like out of all of the issues in the world, Web3 is probably not an issue that I care to get into. So I'm happy that you care to get into it so that I don't have to care to get into it. Then from a trusted source that can chew it and then pre-digest it and send it to you, hopefully then you can actually do a little bit of research on your own to be able to check out, are these, is this a valid opinion or is this just someone's opinion that is spewing off for whatever
I should add,
political
because
purpose?
I'll get yelled at if I don't add it, that all of this stuff, a lot of this stuff involves the blockchain, which means it has to be minted the way cryptocurrency is, which currently takes a lot of power to do. So it's not exactly green.
Well, yeah, which causes, I think that Bitcoins and crypto mining is a huge issue for the environment, and I think that people don't know the amount of energy that goes into that. Well, they argue about it.
They say eventually we'll have, like Tony Stark's, new improved, what was that thing called? The Arc reactor. See?
Thank you. Can you believe I actually remember that?
No, because you do videos on this. I'm so jealous. So like, don't cancel me either way, because I'm not an advocate, but I'm not a detractor. I just think it's really cool technology that will eventually be the infrastructure, but it's going to take a few years before it actually creates services or apps that the mainstream finds valuable.
I am more on the cautionary side, which would say we need to take a look at what happens with the environment when we should probably figure that out before we just jump into everything and be able to do it. But I think that most people aren't even aware about the costs that happen to the environment.
And big game studios love it, because now when you sell something in-game, they can get a percentage of that every time that it's resold, which
and
they couldn't before.
Yeah, exactly.
Microtransactions with a tipping, not a tipping system, but with a cut.
Yes.
You get a cut of every transaction.
Exactly. Instead of selling it on eBay and you get to have everything, they get a little piece every single time.
They're legitimizing your black market, but they're getting their taste.
Yes.
So the next big trend that we're looking forward to, or maybe forward is the wrong word, maybe it's the right word, in 2022 is regulation. Increasing regulation over big tech and social networks specifically.
I'm excited and scared at the same time. I think that we need to have regulation. I think that it is very important. I think that companies cannot regulate themselves, as we have seen. But I also worry about who are the people that are regulating. Who's regulating the regulators? And are the regulators educated? And if they are educated, who's educating the regulators about their regulations? And I believe that that is a really huge issue because they're making the rules. And if we have lobbyists spending $50 million to be able to send money, to whichever government official that's going to make a vote, there is no way that you can say that it is not going to sway a vote. I think that that is a huge issue today in politics. And areas that you are not allowed to give money, they find other ways of giving perks to be able to control which way the government goes. And we would love to say that, we talk about politicians as being bad people and they're so corrupt. But really, if I was about to give you $1 million in the school council vote on if daycares should stay open an extra 15 minutes, and I'm going to give you $1 million, you don't probably care enough about this to not take the $1 million. Most of us would. So
now you're getting canceled. All the daycares.
Human behavior is easily bought depending on what the price is. Just people have different prices.
So I don't think they're necessarily corrupt as they are. And I don't even think they're necessarily incompetent.
I'm not saying corrupt or incompetent. I'm saying it's a question that we need to ask.
Yeah, no, totally. But I think they've got an observable track record. The history of both the US and the EU regulating technology has been disappointing, to say the least. Their cookie policy has not really changed the amount of cookies, but now we have to click that stupid banner every time we go to a website. The privacy policy, GDPR, in the EU didn't really solve for privacy, but it meant that people lost access to a ton of websites. And the upcoming regulations that they're thinking of, or the ones that I've seen at least about technology, seem to do very little to actually well, maybe they do regulate technology, but I don't think they regulate technology that's beneficial to us or that pushes us forward all over the long arc of history. I think they're very narrow-minded, low vision, low sight, and they put what they think are they don't do any repercussion modeling to see where it's going to take us.
Right, or what the purpose to be able to deal with it. And sometimes when they do come down on companies, it's such a tiny little flick that it does not change any behavior at all.
Or it destroys things. I keep going back to the Microsoft browser ballot, where all of a sudden they're like, we need to protect Fenris and Sleipnir browsers from Scandinavia. Therefore, we're going to make this browser ballot. And all they did was eradicate all the web rendering engines we have. And now we basically have WebKit and Chromium everywhere.
Right. We just have another browser dictator.
Yeah. It's just so much of this is unforeseen. I would much rather, instead of them looking at the companies and trying to curb their power, I'd love them to look at the future and try to direct where we're going.
But that's the problem with having people that are making the laws that may not be that aware about technology and where it can go. You need to be able to have the education, but you also need to have the foresight. And then to be able to have the strength to go forward with whatever policy you think will actually be best. Not for your own pocket or for the companies that are paying your pocket, but for the people in general.
And so often, it comes down to, because America has very unusual, internationally speaking, freedom of speech rules. Most countries believe it's their responsibility to regulate speech, not to protect it. But even in the US, you see people going, I said this, and now everyone is yelling at me. What about freedom of speech? And they just don't realize that everybody yelling at them is that person's freedom of speech. It's the same thing with Article 230 and with the First Amendment, is that people tend to want it applied to only them. It doesn't work that way. These rights, these protections, these regulations are going to apply to everything. So act as if they're going to apply to you too, and then see if you still like them.
Yes. Act as if your enemy was going to be wielding them also, and see how you feel about it then.
Yes. Yeah. All right, George, anything else did I skip anything? Anything else you're looking forward to in the... There will be new gadgets, there'll be new phones and new tablets and new computers. And... Is
there anything that I am truly looking forward to?
That is the question.
Yeah, flying cars, I'm not going to get yet.
No, can you imagine?
Full holodeck, not yet.
What do you got VR?
Smell-o-vision, probably don't want that.
Oh, there was a Lick-o-Vision. I don't know if you saw that.
I did.
Yeah, in Japan, you can lick the screen and it'll give you flavor.
I know. Oh.
Wrong. Read the room.
It's not the time.
Yes,
I think maybe pre-COVID that might have been a thing. I don't see
the C word.
any. I don't see anyone really being excited about having anyone lick their TV, even themselves, though. So.
Yes. Yeah, the whole family running up and just lick. It's not good.
Doesn't seem right.
No, just go for scent. Scent seems like a better. Well,
seems like that.
Oh no, we ran out of
Smell-o-vision.
orange. All we have left is poop. I don't know. The TV. That's just not going to go well.
That's not going to go well.
So we do have a bonus segment, an extra segment for everyone listening and watching us on Nebula. If that's not you, it could easily be you. All you have to do is go to curiositystream.com/AppleTalk and sign up. You get Curiosity Stream with all their amazing documentaries, all their incredible series, everything you could ever want to know about the space program. They also have the best science stories of 2021. They talk about everything from a little dinosaur nursery, which is the cutest thing ever. I know the baby dinosaur would eat me. I know, I just don't care. It's just so cute. Baby teeth, whatever, bite, it's fine. To everything that was put into finding, or is it rDNA, rMNA? The whole new generation of mRNA, like just a massive effort that went into
RMNRA.
Something.
I forget. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just the massive healthcare effort that everyone went through over the last 2 years, and everything in between. And when you sign up for Curiosity Stream, you get Nebula for free, absolutely free. That's Georgia's videos, my videos, everybody's videos, ad-free, sponsor-free, often with bonus content like the bonus segment we have coming your way next. And the best part of it is that it is less than $15 a year. Less than the price of, I don't know, a movie ticket these days.
I know, and people, every time I say that, they're like, my movie tickets are only $5. They really aren't.
$20 bucks.
They really
$20
are not here.
I just priced it.
I need to go live where you are.
No, for the nice theater. For the nice theater.
I need to go live where you are.
Yes, well, they're talking about the rerun.
Maybe it's your family pack. Who knows?
Yeah. But anyways, it's less than the price of a movie ticket. $15 a year for Curiosity Stream, Nebula bundled in. That is curiositystream.com/AppleTalk. And it really helps support the show. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Georgia, for people who are leaving us now, we know who you are, where can they find you?
You can check me out on Twitter. It's at Georgia_Dow. And you can check out my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/GeorgiaDow.
Blowing up YouTube channel. And you can find me at Rene Ritchie on the Twitter and youtube.com/Rene Ritchie on the YouTubes. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time.